Smarterfan.
Hey everybody, welcome to another segment of Smarterfan podcast where we bring you behind the veil of sports, business, and life. I'm Joe and this is Barry. How you doing, Barry?
I'm doing good, Mr. Motor Speedway. How you doing?
Oh, I'm coming to you from North Kakalaki.
I tell you, I can smell the engine oil on you.
Yeah, man. So everything's fine though. So now I'm going to talk about Howard Cosell. He had to have one of the most imitated voices in the world. Right?
Yeah.
He was born in Winston-Salem, North Carolina.
Really?
And,
okay.
Yeah, but he grew up in Brooklyn.
Oh, okay.
Right. Yeah. So now his last name was Cohen, but he changed it to his family's original Polish name, which was Cosell. So now his grandfather, when he came to this country, changed it to Cohen for whatever reason.
Uh-huh.
So now he started in the early 50s on a sports radio show. And he represented the Little League of New York. So as a result of that, he was asked to host a show on WABC featuring Little League participants. And that started him on his way with ABC. So now he rose to prominence in the 60s covering Muhammad Ali, from when he was Cassius Clay. And now he was one of the first sportscasters to call him Muhammad Ali. And he supported him when he refused to go into the military, and he was also a big supporter of John Carlos and Tommy Smith during the 68 Olympics. So now his intellectual approach took sports broadcasting to another level. With his input. He covered most of Ali's fights, but he stopped covering fights after the Larry Holmes fight with Randall Tex Cobb. He said that was just a travesty, and he refused to do boxing after that. So now in '70 he became a commentator with Monday Night Football with Frank Gifford and Don Meredith. And his clashes with Meredith are basically what brought the ratings through the roof for Monday Night Football. So, and he coined the term, he could go all the way. And then it was adopted by Chris Berman.
That's right.
So now he was the one who announced the shooting of John Lennon during the Monday Night Football game.
Oh, he did? Oh, wow.
Yeah. Now, his reference to Alvin Garrett as that little monkey is what got him off of Monday Night Football.
Oh, boy.
Even though Garrett said that he didn't take offense to it, but, after that, the damage was done. So he left Monday Night Football. So now he was pivotal in covering the 72 Olympics when the Israeli athletes were murdered. So now the Olympics also brought him back to boxing as he started covering Sugar Ray Leonard's fights. And him and Leonard became really close after that. So now in '93 he was inducted into the International Jewish Sports Hall of Fame. And in '94, the Television Hall of Fame. And he also received the Arthur Ashe Courage Award. So now he withdrew from the public eye, as his health started to fail. because he was a heavy smoker.
Oh, he was.
Oh yeah. He was a heavy smoker, and he was diagnosed with heart, kidney, and Parkinson's disease.
Mercy.
So, and he died in April of '95 at the age of 77. So, but him and Ali, they were just like they just played off of each other so much, especially with Ali, making pretend that he was trying to snatch his toupee off.
It used to be hilarious.
Oh yeah, so
I got a trivia for you.
Go ahead.
Howard Cosell, true or false, Joe,
Mm-hmm.
was a trained lawyer. True or false?
Yes, he was.
Oh, okay. You got me again. I can
Yes,
never get you.
So what's going on with Shedeur?
Man, this is going to go down in NFL history. How does a 5th round draft choice generate more interest than anybody else? And this is the power of media. Interesting, you were talking about Cosell and Muhammad Ali. And so what they've been very strategic with is controlling their narrative.
Definitely.
Right. Whereas literally you got to look at what happens. He's a number 1, 2, or 3. You get him at a discount. And I just shared this with somebody. I said, this is part of the game. It may not be as racial as it's more money. So they got him at a discount. Right. But now the problem is he generates more attention to your franchise. So guess what that does? The person said, well, what do you mean? I said, well, when it comes contract time, not only got to consider his play on the field, watch this, they've got to consider his social media following. Because if he's got 50 to 100 million people following him, that represents money. And the person said, oh my goodness. I said, yeah. Yeah, this is going to be a very, very interesting how this plays out. And they said, wow, I never thought about it, but do you really think? And I said, do you know who right now is basically broadcasting everything on sports? They said, I said, YouTube.
Yeah.
YouTube is the one paying the money on these contracts. MLB, NFL, soccer, because everybody's there. No one's on networks like we grew up on. They're on social media.
Yeah.
So the probability, I'm going to draw the line in the sand right now, is probably all things falling in Shedeur's way. And in light of what happened with Patrick Mahomes, if he does 3 things, if he gets them to a winning record, if he gets them to a playoff in the second, third year, he may leave the game within 10 years as a billionaire. Yeah. As a billionaire. I mean, he's already got the number 1 selling jersey, which is crazy for a 5th round draft pick, right? So it's a very interesting day that we live in. And I think that is what the NFL fears more than anything, that how they've been running their business is going to have to change because of social media.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'll give you this statistic. When Ray Lewis was the man, Ray said he never got a dime for all of his jersey sales. Think about that.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to touch on that because we're living in interesting times right now. So yeah, Shedeur is going to have the last laugh of this situation.
Well, speaking of laughing, the Knicks, they started out the same way the Cavs did against the Pacers, going down 2-0, right?
Oh boy.
And then it finally took Cat to game 3 to wake up, Yeah. And he threw down 20, and they were down by as much as 20 in the half, and he threw down 20 in the fourth quarter, and that brought him back from the brink,
Yeah.
So, but
I got an opinion on that. I have an opinion. My opinion on that is I don't think Thibodeau is and goes back to my theory of not theory, lazy, stupid coaching. Brunson is a beast, but he has the ability to dish the ball. Why would you put that kind of burden on him when you've got 4 other players who can play as well? It doesn't make any sense. I don't need you scoring 79 points. I need the other guys involved. And when it gets tight or you're just on fire, great. But I'm not gonna, because what do you think that everybody's gonna do on offense? They're just gonna stand around and watch.
Yeah.
And when you saw that third game, everybody was involved, everybody was contributing, right? And I didn't like what they said. Well, it's almost they're a better team without Brunson. No, Brunson's not being used right because his coach is not using him right, i.e., Derrick Rose again with Thibodeau.
How many times are they going to come back from 20 points down? This is the third game where they've done that. And you can't. How many times can you go to the well?
That's my point. If you get everybody involved, because he's going to draw 2, Brunson. So dish. Now you got everybody thinking about everybody else, and then he's going to kill you because he can do short range, mid range, and he can shoot outside, and he can take you to the cup. Yeah. But if you just make him everything, that's why they get in that trouble, because it's 4-on-1. It don't work.
Well, the T-Wolves suffered the same fate as the Knicks, going down 2-0. Before and looking bad doing it. But then they came alive in game 3. The Ant-Man, he went off for 30 points, and they just took it to him. They led by as much as 37 going into the fourth quarter of that game.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. They did. They made sure they were going to win this game.
Wow.
So, I mean, and they got their range back. They shot 20 for 40 from 3-point land. And they won the turnover game. So that's what got them over the hump. So we'll just have to see how these two teams do in game 4.
It's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. Who can deliver the knockout punch, right? And Mikal Bridges has got to show up.
Tell me about it.
Show up.
Tell me about it.
That's probably the biggest knock on him, is that he doesn't show up consistently, and it's a bad thing.
Yeah, definitely. So now, the coaching carousel. Budenhauser, Malone, and Taylor Jenkins, as well as Mike Brown, they're all unemployed now. So, and Malone, I thought for sure was going to go to San Antonio because he's got ties to Pop. But they named Mitch Johnson as their new head coach. So
interesting.
So we'll have to see how that turns out. So what's Coach Prime doing with Nike?
Now, this is very interesting what Coach Prime and Nike, he's just released another shoe. So literally in the 90s when he was endeavoring to launch his shoes then, and it just didn't work out. And then he really became a non-Nike fan. It's interesting how it's come back around and he's pushing the envelope. Now watch this strategy. So Shedeur and Shiloh are in the league. So what shoe you think they're wearing? Their daddy's shoe. Who you think they're going to be influencing, right? Right? And you throw on the fact that if they're winning, so now there's $100 million on the table for them to make for the shoes. And they're good looking shoes. I ordered some, right?
Okay.
So, it's an interesting play that's going on with the family, right? And there's one more big piece, but I don't want to get ahead of myself. But again, it's showing how dad is playing chess and everybody else is playing checkers.
Yep.
And I hope athletes are paying attention of how to play the game, control your narrative, tell your story, and really leverage social media not on the negative for doing something stupid, but on the positive by building something while you're playing.
Yeah.
You're the most famous then.
Yeah.
Generally. So I just wanted to give that nugget to Coach Prime and what he's doing. This is a masterclass. He's really doing a masterclass.
Wow.
It's amazing. Yeah, amazing.
It is. It is. Now, the race.
Yes, sir. What you got?
The Coca-Cola 600. Now, we were very thankful that the weather held out because they kept predicting rain, right?
Oh.
So the race got off to a good start without a hitch. Now,
Wow.
Bubba Wallace, he started 32nd, right?
Wow.
And Tyler Riddick started in 12th. Now Wallace, he never got it together during the race, you know.
Okay.
He had mechanical issues and stuff like that, so he never really got it together. But now Riddick, on the other hand, he was up in the top 5 just about most of the race.
Really?
Oh yeah. So, now there were 8 cautions, which is really not a lot for a race this long.
Okay.
So, which was a good thing because the race runs smoother then without the cautions. So, I mean, Kyle Larson, he was one of the guys who wound up on the infield, and that caused a caution.
Okay.
With the spin outs, and then he later got caught up in a wreck that just ended his day.
Oh boy.
Jimmy Johnson hit the wall that knocked him out of the race. Right. So now, like I said, Riddick was contending for most of the race, but he wound up finishing 26th. Now that was because he got a pit stop penalty because you can only do 55 coming down pit road. So he was penalized for speeding on pit road. And then he hit the fence and severely damaged his car. So, he wound up, finishing 26th. Wallace, he didn't finish because, like I said, he had mechanical issues and he had to use his backup car, which wasn't set up for this track. So, anyway, now Ross Chastain, he won the race by passing William Byron with 6 laps to go.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was exciting. Now he started in last position.
Really?
Yeah. And he came all the way up to the front and won the race in his backup car that his crew spent all night building because he wrecked his original car in practice, that Saturday.
Amazing.
Oh yeah. It was really, really exciting, and I give these guys credit for being able to go. That takes stamina to be able to drive like that for that long. Driving 600 miles.
I don't know how they do it.
Yeah.
I don't know how to do it. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's grueling. It really is.
It is.
And Kyle Larson, he did the Indy 500 before he came to the Coca-Cola 600. He did both races in the same day. Man,
that dude's a beast.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't fare too well. He wrecked in the Indy 500, and that was his day. And then he came here and wrecked. So, but he did both races.
That's a lot.
You're talking 1,100 miles.
Yeah, that's a lot, brother.
I mean, because I remember when Tony Stewart used to do it, and he would finish the race in Indy, take a jet to Charlotte, then take a helicopter to the track.
That's next level, brother.
Hey, I tip my hat to him. I tip my hat,
my boots, my coat, whatever. I don't know how they do that.
So, what's going on with the media?
Well, the media was really about Bucky, and well-off media. And I don't know how these people find me, Joe. I don't know how they find me for these conversations. What find me? And so again, somebody said, what do you think is going to happen with Bucky and da-da-da? And I said, well, you didn't see the article that Roger Goodell gave him clearance to do special footage on his brothers with the NFL's blessing. And the person lost their mind. They're like, what? He did what? I said, why are you upset? I said, do you understand how much attention they bring to the Shield? It's a business. It's a business. And I said, I'll give you a name, Sayball. You remember Sayball in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s? That wasn't the NFL. That was a private family that came up with the concept of reporting and filming NFL. It wasn't a creation of the NFL. The person was like, are you kidding me? I said, go look it up. The Sayball family and all the things they launched after that. That was a private family who started that in the 60s when TV really made sports take off. Mm-hmm. And I said, that is the track that Well-Off and Bucky's on, except it is going to move a lot faster because of social media. And, what are you going to do with an entity like Well-Off Media that easily reaches 100 million people? Mm-hmm. If I'm the Shield, that just gives me more leverage to get bigger TV contracts.
Yep.
And the person said, oh, my goodness. I said, truth be told, Bucky may make more than his father, brother, and two brothers.
Wow.
Realistically.
Wow.
He may make more than all of them because of what he does behind the camera and how many people tap in to what he's doing. So he may be, because he's definitely going to have a longer career than both of his brothers. They're only going to play 10 years at best, maybe 12, but eventually they're going to have to leave. Bucky can continue his brand literally forever.
Yeah, well, it started with Ed Seybold and Steve took it over.
There we go. You see what I'm saying?
So, and who could forget the voice of John Facenda?
So the person was just, they couldn't even believe it. They said, the Sanders is going to be making that kind of money? I said, yeah, all things being equal. I said, they're playing chess. Everybody else is playing checkers.
Yep. Well,
I said, you ain't seen nothing yet. They may end up with a team. They may end up with their own NFL team.
You never know. But that's an exclusive club.
It is. But, things change. Money, money. Like Mark Cuban said, hey, I realized the game moved away from me in a different way out of my skill set. And we're on to the next.
That's right. And we'll have to stop right there.
That's what we do. Man, this was an exciting show. I have to say myself, we covered a lot of interesting things. We're getting a lot of different analytics, Smarterfan family. So stay with us on our journey. It's just getting more and more exciting.
Yes, it is. Yes,
and as we always say, Joe,
stay in the game.
Stay in the game. See you next week, family.
All right.
Be well.
Good night.
Good night now.
Smarterfan. Smarterfan. Yeah.